A couple of things I didn't get to. I kind of went into my 10-minute limit here. So back to our guard clause example. First, let me just correct the statement I made about spaces. You don't have to put spaces in. You can just type it without. Typically, when you I kind of like the look of it better, and my formatting set that it'll put the space in for me anyway, but it's not an error to leave the white space out. So you can do something. Let's do a ladder of if statements. So we'll say if the value equals 1, let's put out. We'll just write out the letter A, and then we'll say else if, because we didn't do an example of this either. Value equals 2, and we'll see how many typing mistakes I can make. Let's see out the letter B, and we can keep going on and on. Let's do one more. Else if value equals 3. What should we put out? I know. Let's put out C. And now, so then you would terminate this with an else clause like this. And then, if you want, now we could put another if statement. So typically you wouldn't keep testing the same variable, but since we only have one variable, we're just going to say, so now we're going to say if value is less than 100. And if we'd done them in this order, we could have just kept this ladder of else ifs going as well. So we're going to put out, oops, less than 100. And now we'll just make this a simple else. And we're going to put out, so this value is greater than or equal to 100. And so that's an example. So inside this else clause, we have another if else. So it starts all over. So that's a nested if statement. And when we get to switch statements, that's typically, instead of doing this ladder of if else ifs, you would use a switch statement. But switch statements only work with certain types of variables. So sometimes you do have to do this ladder of if else statements. Okay, so now if we did this right, this should compile. And we can run that. Okay, so greater than or equal 100, and we passed in a value of 500, and then we can, we can do some other tests too. Just guard. I'm not sure why my type ahead's not working, and I wish it were. I spelled guard wrong. That's why it wasn't working. As you recall, it matches whatever letters you've typed. So since I made the typo early on in the name, it couldn't find any matches. So, okay, so we'll build that, and we'll run that. And so you can see the letter B printed out there. And I really should have, so somewhere in this else, maybe all the way at the bottom, since we're going to print a message, we don't have to keep putting the /n. So since every case here printed a message, we can just do this. Put that just one time. So now our output will be a little bit cleaner here. So then the B comes out on its own line. All right, that's all.